Now it's time to welcome Staria's partner and also one of the sponsors of the NetSuite Day and also of the NetSuite Tour, FloQast. FloQast is helping teams to close the books on average 30% faster. But how? Let's welcome Brandon Malekie and Tom Coldman from FloQast to show you how to transform your month-end close with FloQast. Stage is yours. Thank you.
Good morning. Is this on? No? Test.
Is it working now?
Yep. Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Hello to everyone on the stream as well. I want to give a quick shout out to Arti and Staria for having us and allowing us to sponsor this amazing event. Had the pleasure of going to Stockholm a couple weeks ago, so happy to be here as well to present in front of a much bigger crowd. But nonetheless, we're excited to talk to you all today about how to transform your month-end close with FloQast. And yeah, I figured as a quick agenda for the day, we'll start with some introductions, who we are up on the stage, who we are as a company. We'll jump into a quick demo, and then we can open it up to questions. But I'll go ahead and kick us off here. My name is Brandon Malekie. I am the Inside Sales Manager at FloQast EMEA, and as I'm sure you can probably tell by my accent, I am American. I actually flew in from Los Angeles yesterday, so a bit jet-lagged, and if you see me at the booth later a little shaky, you'll know why, because I've had 12 coffees by then. So, but yeah, my background is as an accountant by trade. I'm a licensed CPA in the United States, and also spent some time at Ernst & Young in their audit practice for a few years before joining FloQast, and have been here for about 3 years now and helping to build out the sales team over in our London office. So that's a little bit about myself. Pass it over to my colleague, Tom.
Thanks, Brandon. Well, I haven't flown in from LA, so I have no excuses if I'm asleep later. My name's Tom Coldman, part of the sales team here or in London, working as an account executive. So that means, if you like what you see this afternoon and you think you might want to move forward with the FloQast, it would likely be me who would be taking you through that process. Very similar background to Brandon. I also trained as an auditor at EY in London, and then pretty much left the day I was qualified. Decided it wasn't for me. Made the jump over to FloQast and have not looked back.
Awesome. So who are we? What is FloQast? So similar to Tom and I, our founders come from the public accounting world, Big Four, one from EY, one from KPMG, and we're really a tool purpose-built by and for accountants. It's really in our DNA. Spans everywhere from leadership, direct sales, customer success, set up all across the company. So about 70% or so of our frontliners have some sort of accounting, audit, qualified accounting background. And it really lends itself well to how we drive our business forward, how we interact with our customers, how we truly and genuinely understand the challenges and pains that you folks go through on a day-to-day basis, closing the books month over month. So yeah, founded in 2013. We're an LA-based company, but have since expanded to EMEA and have an office over in London as well. This slide has 1,900 or so customers, but we are quickly approaching 2,000 globally, so hoping that that comes in here in the next couple weeks or so. So very exciting times at FloQast.
20 away.
20 away, perfect. See, the account executive knows the details.
And just interested, as a show of hands, who had actually heard or come across FloQast before? Or are we talking to a brand new audience?
Or just like these types of tools in general, close management, account reconciliation. Now we have some customers in the crowd, which is kind of cheating, but okay. So it looks like a handful of folks, which is awesome, but really excited to be the introduction to most of you all in the room today. Yeah, so this slide just kind of showcases some of the synergies that we have with not only Staria, but NetSuite specifically as well. We have over 800 or so joint customers with NetSuite to date. The filled-in, colored-in logos you'll see on the slide are joint customers of Staria. Mainly M-Files is actually here today, so excited to meet and chat with them. So don't take it from us. You can ask them their experience and get a sense of their use case with FloQast as well. But also Relics and Aura, I know we're hoping to make it today. Unfortunately, couldn't, but hopefully they're on the stream with us as well. But I think one important thing to kind of note on this slide is we don't necessarily serve one specific vertical or industry. It really spans across, high growth teams looking to add structure all the way through enterprises looking to modernize their process. But with that comes systems as well. So not only do we interface very easily and seamlessly with NetSuite, we work with all different types of systems. All ERPs, we're ERP agnostic, we like to say. So the likes of Microsoft and SAP, those of which who are looking to graduate off of NetSuite, building out more robust internal processes, absolutely in our alleyway as well. So these are some common challenges that we see a lot of our current customers face when it comes to the month-end close audit specifically. So I'm not going to read them all to you, but status meetings to get updates on the close, following up with folks requesting documents internally and externally, manual reconciliations, and just disaggregated supporting documentation, which would then lead to a more tenuous audit and maybe lack of controls. So just quickly, show of hands, don't be shy. Who has come across these challenges in their day-to-day? Who faces them, or who knows somebody that faces these challenges? Got some folks over here in the back. Yeah, I mean, very, very common issues, in a traditionally manually driven process. And something Arti mentioned in his keynote that I really liked is, as humans and our innate ability to collaborate, it's quite incredible to think how much we've achieved manually, right? Before technology, before all this automation, where we've gotten to. And really the whole goal now is to take our expertise, take our effort, and modernize it, make it a bit more visible, a bit more automated so we can achieve that next stage of growth. And that's really kind of the foundation of what our tool is built on: collaboration, visibility, communication.
Yeah, and I think picking up on something Brandon mentioned earlier about the type of companies we work with, doesn't matter whether you're an enterprise company or a small startup, you're going to be experiencing probably some of these issues that are on the screen behind us. And that's really where we come in. We're working with all types of customers, the big enterprises of this world, the small scale-ups that are also benefiting from the solution.
Absolutely. All right, and then we have some ROI metrics on here. We all love ROI, I know. I'm not going to read you the numbers, but I think it's important to really point out the why or the how behind these numbers, right? And it kind of comes back to what Tom's kind of alluding to. We don't necessarily work with one specific type of company. So whether you are a smaller, high-growth company looking to add structure, looking to lay a foundation for your process, looking to graduate onto a NetSuite, allowing you to facilitate that process, allowing your month-end close to be seamless, smooth, so that you can eventually, get to the next stage of growth. Or you're an enterprise company looking to modernize your process, move away from the traditional way of closing the books, maybe, introduce more robust control environment for your reporting and audit requirements, for example. But, all of these types of returns on your investment can come in the form of time savings, increased accuracy, workload balance, audit savings, and just ultimately well-being, right? That's what we're trying to achieve. Our CEO always makes a joke. He created the company so we could help accountants go home earlier, and it's genuinely what we aim to do, because again, we've been in your shoes or their shoes and genuinely understand the pain and the challenge that goes with your day-to-day.
Yeah, and I think this is ever more important as well, especially given the macro environment at the moment. When you're going ahead with software purchases, you need to see, okay, what is our ROI going to be? Where are we going to see the benefits? And I think in the introduction we mentioned 30% reduction in the time to close, and of course that is a benefit, but that isn't going to be the sole aim of a lot of teams going forward with FloQast. It's going to be from a control perspective, or documentation, or audit streamlining. So there's no one reason why teams go ahead and implement FloQast. It really is, the benefits are going to be widespread across the finance org. Now, one thing to mention before we jump into the demonstration, we're all finance folk here. We all love a good bargain or a good deal. So before we jump in, I want to just pick up a few ears. We are offering a free implementation for everyone in this room, everyone online, and all Staria customers, for anyone who signs up by the end of this year. So if you do see the short presentation and think, how am I ever going to do my close, how I'm currently doing it without FloQast, then that is something to pay attention to.
And happy to chat more about it too at our booth after this during lunch or the networking hours as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is going to be a high-level demonstration. We're barely going to scratch the surface, but hopefully it should give you some understanding of where we fit into the overall finance function. And what we're seeing on the screen behind us here, this is our all workflows dashboard. So I know we've kind of really mentioned and focused on the close so far. Really where we're headed as a company is to incorporate both upstream and downstream areas of the close into one central platform. So, moving away from just the close, but bringing in, your workflows for your compliance or for your FP&A team, or your reporting team or your tax team, so that, you have that high-level, holistic view across the entire finance function. So we're going to see here from this dashboard an instant real-time picture, okay, for our September close or our October close, or for our compliance team in their October work. How far through are they? Are they running late? Are they on time? Where are the bottlenecks? But then if we click through here into our close, so we will just focus on the close for the purpose of the demonstration today. This is still going to be a high-level metric overview of how our October close is tracking. So we're looking at across all of our entities, an instant dashboard picture. Okay, we're 17% of the way through. We're running very late. We're, should be 83% of the way through based on our deadlines. Clearly not been signing off on our demo environment. But then giving you a snapshot, okay, of all of those checklist tasks that need to be completed. How many have been prepared? How many have been reviewed? Our reconciliations, are they tied out? Have they been reviewed appropriately? Now, from this timeline viewpoint, there's a couple of ways that you can look at it. So you can look at it by entity. And we have teams who are managing hundreds of entities within FloQast. We also have teams who have a single entity. So it really goes back to what I was saying, that working with such a variety of companies, but giving you that snapshot, okay, within each entity, who's holding us up? Is it the US team, Brandon, holding us up? Probably not. But giving you that snapshot. From here, we can then drill down into our UK entity. And this is where we're going to break it out by balance sheet reconciliation, really. So we're going to break it out into our balance sheet accounts, starting to get a little bit more granular here. This viewpoint, okay, which of the balance sheet areas within our UK entity are holding us up, which are complete, what is the exact status of everything that needs to be done. And we're going to be able to see this on a calendar viewpoint, so we can start planning ahead. We can see, okay, what tasks are coming due on which day, and from here, we're going to give you that ability to filter down into particular information. So you may want to see how one of your team members is getting on with their work. We can have quick filters so you can see everything that's assigned to you, so really giving you that personalized dashboard of what is your responsibility. We can drill into individual folders as well.
I also think it's important to note, like, everything you're seeing in the system is absolutely customizable, completely to your business. When we think about setting you up within the FloQast environment, we want it to mirror exactly the way you're doing your work today. We hate change management as much as everyone in this room, so we try to minimize some of that friction between it. So what you're seeing in the demo account sure is very built out for a demo environment, but absolutely would reflect kind of your daily workflow, the way you're reconciling your accounts, the way you handle your entities, et cetera.
And then from here, we can drill into one of these accounts. So we'll look into accrued expenses today, and this is then going to take us down really into the foundation of the application. It's really where the metrics from the previous screen are being driven from, and it's really where your team are going to be spending the majority of their time when they're closing the books. So really here, we've split this section into three main sections. We see that the close from the teams that we speak with typically, historically, tracked on a big Excel spreadsheet. This is what needs to be done. This is when it's due. This is who's responsible. And maybe 20% of the time, it's actually updated, and you're actually going to have that real-time visibility. So, we have taken that checklist piece. That's one of our three sections within this screen here. We've got our documentation section here. So I think one of the really key points of FloQast is getting your teams into an audit-ready state, building out a scalable and repeatable process, and really ensuring that you're going to have that documentation that can be pulled down as required and as requested from the auditors. And you can actually give your auditors read-only access to the system as well. Some teams like to do that, some teams don't, knowing how nosy auditors can be. But this is where we're going to help build out that process and structure. And then our reconciliation section down here, this is where we're going to integrate with NetSuite, any other ERPs that any of your entities may be on, but we're also going to integrate with Excel. And I think that's a really key point of FloQast and points again to the flexibility and where our system comes from being designed and developed by accountants to really build control onto that tie-out process and give you comfort over the numbers that you're actually closing on a monthly basis, that they are correct and the auditors aren't going to come in and see a big difference at the quarter end or year end. I think from the checklist piece, and we will just work it down and go into a little bit more detail here. We'll take those checklists that your team are currently working with, we'll map them into the system, we'll assign the due dates, we'll assign preparers and reviewers, so help building that structure, but then building a professionalized workflow on top of that as well. So you'll see here we have electronic sign-off functionality. This is also where we've built out integrations with Slack and Microsoft Teams. So if I come in here, I've completed this task, I'll sign it off, it'll leave a time and date stamp of when it was completed, but it'll also send a notification to Adam, in this case the reviewer. Okay, Tom has completed this task, it's ready for him to go and ready for you to go and review, and that notification can be sent through Slack, can be sent through Teams as well.
Yeah, so a bit more dynamic than your traditional Excel driven checklist, and then you have to go over on Slack and jump on Zoom. It's all done in real time. You're getting notifications instantly. You're catching things in real time. So, for example, if the auditors make a selection on something, you're not finding out then. You're making the adjustments right then and there.
And it's centralizing the whole process as well. So rather than communicating via email or not having this process documented, when the reviewer comes in, they're actually going to have the documentation they need within FloQast. So the reconciliation files that the team are working on, any other key documents can also be uploaded to those checklist tasks. And then if they do have any comments they want to make as a reviewer, you can actually assign review notes within the system as well. So you're going to have that centralized audit log of all of the comments that have been left, all centralized within one place. From a documentation standpoint, we're going to build out an integration with the main cloud storage providers. So typically it's going to be Google Drive or OneDrive, but also with Dropbox, Box, and Ignite. And this really is designed at building structure and organization to how the team is saving down those files. So not saving them down to a local drive, and then when the auditors come in and request, they can't find it. We want to help build out that process for the team. So the way we structure FloQast when we build it is we will build it by entity, then by year, then month, and then by sub-process. The integration we have with Google Drive, with OneDrive, will actually allow us to replicate that folder structure in your team's cloud storage environment. So we use OneDrive here, but you'll see we have that exact same structure within the OneDrive environment. Within our accrued expenses folder for our October close, we have our 3 reconciliation files. They're going to be the 3 files that you see within FloQast. And that integration is going to be a big part of our, I suppose, approach to reconciliations. And I think useful to add some context here, really. So within FloQast, we do have functionality to automate certain reconciliations. So, for those more straightforward, transaction-heavy reconciliations, thinking bank reconciliations, for example, we can actually automate that process of matching within the system. But a big part of our identity is that we know accountants like using Excel. Some of the other systems on the market will take a slightly different approach, or a very different approach, really, and take a more systems-based approach. We've built out an integration with Excel because we know that teams need the flexibility to automate where possible, but also to build control where it does make sense to continue performing your recs within Excel. So we're seeing here the tie-out process for our accrued expense reconciliations. We've got our per TB number being pulled through from NetSuite, API integration with NetSuite work incredibly well with them, and then this reconciled balance figure this is going to be being pulled through from our Excel reconciliation file. And I do have an example open. I've got our accrued bonus up. We're not going to force your team into any particular template. We want them to be able to continue performing the work in the files they currently are. We're just going to ask them to use a unique identifier. So it's going to be the hashtag FQ and then the account number 2022. And that's going to pull through the balance in the cell to the left. So this 1.083 million. And then we've got the tie-out process occurring within FloQast. We've got a reconciliation that ties out to an immaterial difference. So I can come in, I sign off, Nico's reviewed, perfect. But of course, we want that control element to this process. So you will not be able to sign off on a reconciliation that doesn't tie out. And if in this case, let's say I was to go and post a journal to our accrued bonus account that takes it above the materiality threshold of the difference, we'll actually suspend the sign-off and we'll notify both parties your reconciliation no longer ties out. There's an issue that you now need to go and address. So I think that's a really important part of giving you the comfort that when things do change, and we know that it happens, we know that journals get posted after the fact and after your reconciliations have been done, but we're going to notify you that so that you can go in and address those problems, and they're not going to be picked up by the auditors at the year end. Just wanted to take a pause here. I know it's maybe a little bit of a shy audience, but if there are any questions, happy to take them at this point. Like I said, we really have just skimmed the surface of FloQast at this point. But if you do have any questions on what you've seen so far, please do go ahead.
We have some questions that came in via the chat. It might be that you are going to touch base on these topics afterwards as well, but still, a question from Tia. How long is a typical FloQast implementation process?
It's a great question. We were going to talk about it later, but happy to answer that now. Yeah. The great news is it's straightforward and it's quick. So it's going to be for most teams in between 4 and 8 weeks to get you up and running and fully live on the system, depending on some complexities, but generally no more than 8 weeks, and it's a very simple process. So it's really just a case of requesting certain documentation, so checklists, trial balances, chart of accounts. Very minimal time needed from the company, from the finance team. We do all of the heavy lifting. As a requirement, our implementation team are all trained accountants, so they speak the language, they know what they're looking at. They'll do the majority of the work, and they'll have you up and running in 8 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the company.
We have another question as well from Pekka. So FloQast, do you offer technical support?
Absolutely. I suppose that's quite a broad question, but yes, we've got a great team. Brittany in the back, give us a wave. She's one of our best customer success manager in the UK. So she will always be on hand. She'll be your main point of contact to answer any questions. We also have 24/7 raising a ticket, and I think our response time is under 20 minutes. So yes, we have a technical support team who will answer your questions straight away.
Yeah, and from a training perspective too, right? If you feel that you're onboarding new team members or folks need a refresher, we're always happy to run. Brittany's always happy to run training sessions. Any additional help needed going forward, obviously at no additional cost, but we absolutely love to foster the relationship that we have with our current customers, and I think it just goes back to our DNA as accountants. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think one other thing to note on that as well is that we won't touch on the costing and pricing, but we do typically, today aside, have an implementation fee. But any changes that you then make further down the line, so if you were to make any or add any new entities or make some big structural reorganizations, all of that support would be free of charge. So there's going to be no added costs further down the line once you are up and running.
We still have a third question as well.
Ooh.
So when a company is growing, how easy or difficult is it to scale the system and processes for the new subsidiaries? This question was asked by Mats.
That's a very good question. It's straightforward and it's simple, and actually that's really where we've probably seen a real niche in the type of companies that we help. Those companies that are fast growing, are scaling, and need a solution that is going to scale with them. So if you're adding new entities, you're adding new accounts, new tasks, new team members, because of the way the system has been designed and it's been straightforward to use, it's been straightforward to maintain, you're actually going to be able to make most of those changes yourselves. We will always have a team member on hand who can help you, but you're actually going to be able to maintain the system yourself. I know a lot of systems will have a kind of dedicated IT person responsible. Teams don't need that for FloQast. You're going to be able to manage the process internally.
Yeah, I think a big thing too is just when it comes down to the flexibility of the tool and really lends itself well to higher user adoption. So you're not, if you're a new employee, you're onboarding, you're not, spending 2-3 months trying to get sense of the tool. You're jumping right in, you're picking up where the person left off. Everything is documented and structured for you within the system, easy to access. So, when it comes to scaling, like Tom mentioned, it really is kind of our bread and butter. We are absolutely a tool that can scale and grow with you as you continue to add headcount, complexities arise, things are constantly changing. We know this as ex-accountants and auditors, so we've built a tool to reflect that.
Yeah, and it's really not uncommon for teams to come to us and they don't have any closed process built out at all. So they've got a few team members who just know what they need to do in their head, but they've got nothing actually documented, so they have no checklists. They have a few reconciliation files, and then they use FloQast as a foundation to then build out that process. So rather than kind of taking the traditional route of using Excel, and then once they maybe get to a size where you may traditionally think you're ready for a system like this, they'll actually go straight for it straight away and use it as a foundation to build from.
I know it's easier to submit questions over a computer, so totally understand. We'll be at the booth if you guys have any questions. Happy to have a chat, or we can go into the demo a bit more depth. We do have a few more slides. Tom, we'll cover off and we'll be done. We'll get you guys to lunch a bit early.
Yeah, just one thing functionality-wise to tease out as well, and it's actually our latest release, and it goes back to what we're saying when we're trying to expand out from just managing the close and bringing in the wider finance function. So about a month ago now, we released our SOX compliance module. We don't actually have it within the demo facility at the moment, so I wasn't able to show you. But really what it's been designed to do is bring your whole SOX compliance program into FloQast. So your risk control matrix that maybe you're managing in an Excel spreadsheet still, you can bring it into the system. You can link your controls to your checklist tasks. You can link your controls to your reconciliations, and really being designed to centralize that whole process into our platform. So I got a few screenshots here, maybe a little bit hard to see at the back. But you'll see here, this is our central checklist task. You can see we can assign controls to those task items. We can also assign them to your reconciliations. So it's really preventing the duplication of work. When the control owner has performed their task or performed their reconciliation, it will mimic that that sign off in our SOX compliance module. So really bringing the whole process into one platform.
I do think, just quickly to add to that, SOX compliance is kind of the way we're approaching it at that angle, but it really is controls related. It's any type of control environment you're trying to build or maintain or digitize. That's where this piece of functionality is going to come and help. So really not just geared to listed public companies in America, for example, but any company looking to build out their control environment, add more robust controls, and eventually get to that point if that's the goal. So it's again back to the flexibility of whatever the goals you guys have as an accounting and finance org. I know we stopped for questions, but anyone think of anything in the last 5 minutes? No? Oh, yes?
Hey, I have one question about the maintenance of the FloQast. So how work intensive it is from the company's perspective, and how what is the typical organization to keep it up, to have it in use?
Yeah, I mean, actually, Brittany would almost be a better place to answer that, but it's going to be very straightforward to maintain. So like I said, a lot of other systems will have a dedicated IT resource. You don't need that for FloQast. A lot of the maintenance, if you think, every month when you're starting a new checklist or, your reconciliations, you can roll forward everything automatically that we saw. So we'll roll forward that checklist, we'll roll forward all of your documentation. So it's going to be set up for you. In terms of making small changes, if you have a team member who commits that sin and takes annual leave during the close, you can just bulk reassign all of their tasks into someone else's name. If you want to change due dates, all of that can be done by the admin on your side, whoever has the necessary permission to make those changes. Obviously, we can adjust who has those permissions. We don't want everyone to be going and deleting tasks that they can't be bothered to do. But it's going to be very easy for you to maintain it yourself without a dedicated resource.
Yeah, I think too, just like at a higher level, right? Like going back to our founders and where we come from in our company DNA, right? We've designed the tool by and for accountants, so we made it intuitive and really designed it to be in line with the way you think and work on a daily basis. So as things are changing, some of the features that Tom mentioned, these are all things we've kind of took into consideration as we built out the tool and created these additional features to help your team scale and grow without having such a headache with maintaining the system. That's the last thing we'd want to add to your plate.
Hello.
Hello.
Where are the accounting files, the Excels, accrual Excels? Are they stored in the tool? You showed there an example that it fetches some numbers from the Excel. So
They will all be, the reconciliation files, they'll all be stored on your cloud storage, so your Google Drive or your OneDrive. We just set up an API integration to read into those files. But from a storage perspective, they're all stored on your cloud.
thank you.
Yeah, I think too, just with that, it is kind of the one prerequisite of using a tool like FloQast. So, many of us are on the cloud if we're already using NetSuite or engaging with Staria. So, but if you are saving documents down in a local shared drive, for example, it would look and feel exactly the same. It's just moving it onto a cloud version that we can then integrate with, pull in balances, and add that layer of control and peace of mind around as well.
Any more? Or are we keen for some lunch?
I think we're hungry. I'm a little hungry. It's like 2 a.m. for me, so I don't know why I'm hungry. But all right, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.